And overfunctioning is not discipline. It's protection. The belief underneath that is if I don't do enough, I won't be enough. You're listening to Speak Mother, a podcast about reclaiming your voice, your identity, and your truth inside modern motherhood. I'm your host, Shannon Warner. Let's get into it. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad you're here. I want to thank you again for those of you who have reached out to share your thoughts on the podcast and to share your excitement and the podcast coming back. It means so much. We are going to continue with the conversation inspired by On Our Best Behavior by Elise Loehnen. That book is linked in the show notes, but you do not need to have read the book to listen to this episode. I'm not walking us through the chapters or assigning homework. And if you're trying to read along and you're not where the podcast is, that's okay too. Just let it be what it is. You're not in school. There are no tests. There are no failures. I do want to add that the book offers a lot of rich history and context if you're curious, but this space is about reflection and our lived experiences and just noticing what resonates and what doesn't. So this week we are diving into the concept of sloth. Just hearing the word sloth probably brings something up. Lazy, unmotivated, sleeping on your mother's couch in her basement. Is there an image that comes to mind when you think of sloth? Before we go any further, I want to name something very clearly. This conversation isn't about laziness. It's not about blame. And it's not about doing less just for the sake of it. And sloth is not an option for many mothers. Rest has never been equally accessible, especially for marginalized mothers and single mothers who have to do so much. This conversation is also not about judgment. It's just about awareness, because as I mentioned before, we can't change what we can't see. So in the book, Elise gives some context and background about how labor became quantified during the Industrial Revolution, where time became money. So our time stopped belonging to us and started belonging to employers. When labor became measurable, worth became tied to your output. We've been deluded by the forces of capitalism and religion to believe that the purpose of life is hard work. While productivity became virtue, rest was not seen in the same light. And again, this is something that is learned, something we've inherited. Like the other ideas that we've talked about in previous episodes, like these are things that we were just opted into. And I say that because that piece matters, because it didn't originate in you. And if you're of my generation, this is where it really cracks open. As millennials, a lot of us are waking up to the fact that hard work isn't actually paying off the way we were promised. We did what we were told. We worked hard. We got the degrees, sometimes multiple degrees. We took on the debt because we were told the degrees were the keys to success. And many of us are still carrying student loans, struggling under the cost of childcare, watching housing and groceries and just life get more expensive every year. We were told we could have it all. And I guess we can. You can have it all with the side of chronic illness. And that's not a personal failure. That's what happens when human bodies are asked to live inside inhumane systems. And motherhood is where that mismatch becomes impossible to ignore. So we feel this so deeply as mothers because women have always worked. Caring for your children is unpaid labor. It's invisible. It's unquantifiable. While the patriarchy values women in the home, child rearing, housekeeping, and supporting their husbands, capitalism, on the other hand, doesn't know how to value care. Working mothers split their time, focus, and energy. If you've ever been a working mom in any capacity, you understand the challenges. Stay-at-home moms are assigned $0 value. And that's not women on women crime. That's capitalism. Patriarchy says you're doing the most important work, while capitalism says your work holds no monetary value. Therefore, it is without value. And nobody can quantify what a, quote, good mother is, but we live like we should be able to, and we're burning ourselves out in the process. That gap creates a constant sense of falling behind. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like you were falling behind as a mother in any capacity. This is why we are so hard on ourselves. And this is why rest can feel earned instead of essential. How can I stop to rest when I'm constantly behind? So I have learned when I'm stressed or anxious, I don't rest. I do the opposite. I kick into overfunction. Doing becomes a way to avoid feeling, and I make that switch without even realizing it. I caught myself in the kitchen the other day, and I was a little stressed about life, all the things happening, and work, but not in a bad way. Just, there was a lot on my plate at the moment, and instead of pausing, resting, taking a moment, I started doing the dishes. In our household, we divide our chores pretty evenly. Dishes is not my chore. But I kicked right into, I have to do something else. I have to do something else. I have to do something else. This feels out of control over here. So let me jump in, get my hands dirty, literally, to feel a sense of control again. And overfunctioning is not discipline. It's protection. In this chapter, Elise points out that the belief underneath that is, if I don't do enough, I won't be enough. When we switch into overfunction, into that doing mode, it's just a nervous system response. And your nervous system's job is to keep you safe, scanning for threats, responding to threats, to keep you alive. So how have we gotten to the place where we have internalized pausing a threat to our safety, a threat to our lives? We do it to ourselves, but we do it to others as well. Have you ever thought of another woman or another mother as lazy? We're all guilty of it. So when you think of another mother as lazy, what's happening there? What are you projecting onto that person? And what don't you know about their circumstance? And if you're partnered with someone who seems to relax more easily than you do, that can bring up a lot too. Have you ever wanted to throw a shoe at your partner because they are more than content to lay on the couch and watch the game or scroll on their phone? Well, we're constantly scanning. This needs to be put away. The laundry needs to be done. Where's the permission slip? Where are the library books? Did you reschedule that appointment for the kids? Like all of these things, it's constantly going on for us. And then we watch our partners just relaxing, seemingly without a care in the world. And I want to name something here because it matters. Many men were simply not raised inside the same programming that ties their worth so tightly to their output, especially in the home. This does not mean that our men folk don't experience pressure or stress. Of course, that's not true. But it often means that they've been given more permission to rest without questioning their value. And sometimes what we're reacting to isn't them. It's the permission that they were given to rest that we weren't. And that realization doesn't require pointing fingers or blame. It just asks us to notice the different rules that we were handed. So when we judge other mothers or feel bitterness towards partners, we often end up enforcing the same standards that are exhausting us in the first place. Judgment keeps the system intact. Outside forces don't have to tell us to toe the line when we are forcing that on each other. However, doing this work, having these conversations, noticing, getting curious about where this is showing up in your life and in the lives of women around you, that loosens that grip. We know that rest is essential. We know that sleep is essential, but aside from sleep, downtime, whatever that may look like, is essential. Unfocused time, that's essential. Sloth, and that word carries a lot of power with it, a lot of disdain, a lot of judgment. But sloth isn't quitting. It's just refusing to abandon yourself anymore, any further. And instead of checking off the list of, okay, the dishes are done and the laundry is done and okay, well, the bathroom counter still hasn't been wiped down. I need to do that. And the kids need new shoes and I have to do this seasonal clothing swap out as the kids grow out of one size and into hand-me-downs. And there's so much work in motherhood. But what if our actual, quote, work is just setting down what doesn't serve you anymore? Those beliefs, those practices, those identities that were assigned to you, and that many of us willingly stepped into because that's what we thought we were supposed to do. What if the actual work is setting all of that down and becoming the woman you came here to be? You're so much more than your output. And that stuff will all get done anyway, because it does. Because you're a powerhouse, because you're a baddie. It's what you do. You get the things done. But it can wait. It'll still be there tomorrow or next week. You need your downtime. You need your sleep. You need your unfocused time. You need your time for joy. You need your time for connection. And none of those are lazy or unproductive. So I'm going to say it again, because this is something that I've really grappled with. I really grappled with it, especially when I was laid off a few years ago. A lot of us unknowingly tie our value to our output and to our incomes. And there's so much more than that. You're so much more than that. If you are a stay-at-home mom and you, for all intents and purposes, earn $0, that has nothing to do with your worth as a human, as a mother, as a woman. If you are a working mom in the C-suite, landing 6 figures, that has no impact on your value. We're all valuable. We're all important. I want to say something to you that maybe you haven't heard. And it might take some time for it to sink in and for you to be able to integrate it into your being. But you are inherently worthy. You are inherently worthy just because you're here. That's it. You're already enough. And I hope you can recognize that in yourself. So before we close, I want to offer a few questions that you might sit with. Again, this is not homework. It's not something to figure out. They're just invitations to notice and get curious. You don't need answers. Just noticing is enough. So where do you notice yourself overfunctioning? Not because you want to, but because it feels safer than stopping. What do you believe would happen if you rested more than feels acceptable? And where might your worth still feel tied to effort or productivity? If nothing else, just notice one place where this shows up for you this week. And when you notice, you don't have to stop it. You don't have to judge it. Just pause and recognize what it might be protecting you from feeling. That's it. Thank you for being here. You're amazing, and I love you. I'll see you back here next week. Thanks for listening to Speak Mother. If this resonated, share it with a friend, and don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Keep speaking your truth. I'll meet you back here soon.